What's up, y'all? It's your girl Karina. Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to talk about if Venus is in retrograde, transiting your first house. What is it like? And what are the things that you need to keep in mind? Let's hit it.
Special announcement, my album, Venus RX, is available, and along with it, you can get a Venus Retrograde Oracle bundle.
So, if Venus is retrograding your first house, this is going to be a time where you are going to be reanalyzing and looking introspectively at your appearance. That's right. Venus transiting the first house naturally brings out more love and abundance to your looks, to your fashion, to how you present yourself, right? Now, Venus retrograde is basically a time for you to go through your closet and take out all of the things that no longer fit, that no longer serve you, and, give them away. Donate clothes, donate the things that you no longer need. Going through your hair products, going through your makeup, all of these things are useful to do during a Venus retrograde. Now, here's where you might have some hangups. So Venus retrograde is more internal. And so because it is in the first house, transiting the first house, this is a time where you might deal with insecurities about your looks. You might feel like you are suddenly strapped in this oasis of feeling unworthy, of feeling unvalued and almost unloved. Your relationships might actually pick at you. They might come and make, like, people in your life, they might actually make comments about your looks or about your weight. They might make comments about your personality. They might have things to say about how likable you are or how not likable you are. You could have difficulty with a Venus retrograde moving through the first house and meeting new people. In fact, it's one of the transits where you wouldn't really want to make too much of a concern about the new people that you meet during this time. More than likely, they might reflect to you an energy that isn't very loving or beautiful. And if they are reflecting that to you, then they might not stick around long enough, because a Venus retrograde is a time where anything that has Venus ruled in your life is under a microscope and going through a processing. So if you have Venus transiting your first house, this could be a time where you are dealing with maybe some sort of health issue or beauty issue. You could maybe have issues with breaking out. You could have issues with cold sores. You could have issues with, like I've said before, weight gain. You could really just find that the way that you present yourself, like in your fashion wise, is just not really on point, or maybe it's outdated. So the best way to utilize Venus retrograde in the first house is to allow yourself to go through a makeover. Go through Venus retrograde in the first house, going back to a workout that you really love. Looking at what old clothes maybe that you haven't worn that look really good on you, that you haven't been using. That's a great way to use Venus retrograde going through the first house. And it's also a time where if you haven't connected with old relationships, old friends from the past, or just people that are really important to you, but you haven't really given enough time to go out and see them, this is a chance to do that. Because the first house is where we do kind of like go out and enter into a room of people that don't know us. With the Venus going through the first house, it's almost better if you're maybe around people who do know you. These people remind you of maybe who you were or who you want to become. because who you are right now during a Venus retrograde in the first house is kind of foggy, and you're kind of not really seeing clearly. You might be dealing with some issues of being graceful, being cordial. With Venus in the first house, you might have, especially depending on the sign, you might start coming off as unpleasant to be around. You might find yourself around people who don't quite value you as much as they should. And if you're the one who is not being as rude or whatever, because the first house is really your personality, well, then you just might find that people around you are reflecting that. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the artistic aspect of Venus. Venus retrograde in the first house could make you go through a little bit of an artistic, it might be time for an artistic revival, right? It's a time to relook at your own creativity. There's something that's truly refined about the Venus retrograde, in which the taste is like really the look of, okay, there's something very refined about a Venus retrograde, in which, because it's going inward and that retrograde energy is revisiting and relooking, typically you might actually be in this place where you're enhancing your taste in the finer things that make you look good. What I mean by that is basically upgrading the quality of your clothes, upgrading the quality of your makeup, your hair, your body care, and also just upgrading the quality of your personality, right? Like, so who are you as a person, and how valuable do you see yourself, and how valuable are you to other people? And during the retrograde, this is the process, right? So you may not necessarily want to buy items, especially new items, during a Venus retrograde that have to do with your beauty and whatnot. But after that retrograde is over, you might be like even more compelled to do that, and the energy is more freer too. Now, if you do have to buy new items, new beauty items, new clothes or whatever, just know that your relationship to the buying itself, which is the spending the money on it, and your relationship to what it does for you, like what it does for your appearance, might be a little toxic, right? So it's like if you buy this like gorgeous dress and you're like, oh, this is gonna look so good for me, and either it doesn't look as good as you want, or you're almost like codependent on the product, that without this product I don't feel beautiful. You know, it's like when certain women wear makeup, it's like, without makeup I don't feel beautiful. It's not to say that wear makeup is bad, but the beauty happens before you put on the makeup. So buying a product could either, it may not turn out the way that you want it, or it might be everything that you dreamed of, but it's almost like you're nothing without that product, or you're nothing without buying these things. Okay, so that is Venus retrograde transiting your first house.
I wake up in the morning, I'm a